Good evening, good morning, good night, wherever you may be watching my transmission, our transmission. This is our channel. It is I, Mike Martins, and man, do I have a very important, very intense couple of articles I want to string together for you guys and kind of make sense of what is going on. This show is called Vancouver Exodus because there's a mass exodus of people fleeing major cities in the whole western seaboard. It's not just Vancouver, it's King County, Seattle, Olympia, right down to Portland, Oregon, all the way down to from San Francisco, all the way down to LA County, down to San Diego. Everyone's heading eastward in inland because the affordability of housing is just beyond. If you can't live, you can't. You have no place to call home. You got no shelter. You got no place to hang your hat. You got to move, right? You got to move on. I am one of those statistics myself. I left the city of Vancouver 3 years ago, and I moved here to Merritt. This February will be my it's been that long, 3.5, 4-year anniversary. Yeah, it's been that long here in the city of Merritt. Small town living. My car insurance is like half the price for living in a small town. I only have to fill up my gas tank once every 5 or 6 weeks. I know, I do. Yeah, and my disposable income is higher because my cost of living went down substantially. Instead of paying $2,600 or $2,900 where it would be today for the townhouse I was renting in Vancouver, I ended up just buying my place here free and clear because I saved down payment to buy a house in Vancouver, and I just bought a house free and clear, a gigantic house free and clear, gigantic, enormous. My backyard's bigger than the whole entire complex I lived in before in Vancouver. Okay, so what is going on? So this article is going to tie into the second and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, third, blah 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 articles. So let me get these articles in line here. Sorry, guys. It kind of all ties together in the end, and I want to make sure we get this Exodus thing going right here because I want people to understand that this Exodus thing, the Exodus of Vancouver, is very real. Okay, and I'll give you my little tidbit of it. I live in a beautiful cul-de-sac, and it's all lumber brokers that used to live here. So they built these huge 3-story homes, right? The guy to my left and the guy to my right are both from the coast. The guy inside the cul-de-sac is from the coast, and there's some people that work for the police, RCMP, and firefighters and stuff. They're from the coast, and some people, not on my block, but on the other block over, on the other cul-de-sac, there's a lot of firefighters. Firefighters from Vancouver and firefighters from Kamloops, and police from Kamloops too. They were seeing that Kamloops was getting out of control. Another little city inside the interior. So it starts off with Hong Kong housing ranked the world's least affordable demography survey. Hong Kong has been ranked the world's least affordable housing market in the 9th straight year. Not only did it retain the notorious title, homes in the city go further out of reach for most residents, according to the Demographia and Urban Planning Policy consultancies. The city of medium property price climbed 20.9 times the median household income in 2018, up from 19.4 times earlier. So that's what I wanted to get to in this article. It's 20.9 times the median household income. Now in Vancouver, it's arguably anywhere from 8.5 to 16.9%, depending on what part. See, Hong Kong is a district where Vancouver has several districts built, like it's different areas. So the Greater Vancouver and the Vancouver area could go from 6.8 times to like 17. Let's just arguably say 17 times the average income. Vancouver housing second least affordable in the world. So this is from our friends over at the Vancouver Sun.
We ring here at the Holy Rosary Cathedral and have done so for over 100 years. Not me personally, but but we have consistently provided a band for the cathedral. The band members ourselves are
Okay, I don't know what that is. Vancouver housing the second least affordable in the world after Hong Kong, according to the 15th Annual Demographic International Housing Affordability Survey. So here's the survey here. Let's open this puppy up here. The 15th Annual Performance. There's a guy with the sweater there. And let's see if we can find a little graph here that could show us where we sit. Here we go. Okay, so we got so it's Australia, Canada, China, Hong Kong. So Australia was in affordability in 2018, showing that Australia was number one, Canada, China, Hong Kong, Ireland, New Zealand, Singapore, UK, and the United States. Mind you, you got to keep in mind, guys, that in the United States, the average benchmark is still in and around 200,000. So the people, what's raising the benchmark so high are cities like Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, New York City, Manhattan. Even the Bronx is going up. Even Boston in Massachusetts has been going out of control. So there's a lot of cities that are propping up the whole demand. Not the whole demand, propping up the benchmark price across the board, where, for example, in Canada, we only have 3-4 really major cities, and we don't have much choice. Like I said in Trends in the Housing Market, Texas alone has more major cities than all of Canada. So Canada, if you live in Canada, it's really tough to get around or for choice-wise when it comes to cities. So this year, Vancouver bumped Sydney to the number 2 spot after 3 years, not number 3. Despite the correction in the housing market, mainly with higher end market, the report says Vancouver's affordability continues to deteriorate. After Vancouver, on the list for least affordable housing are Sydney, Melbourne, San Jose, Los Angeles. Canadian cities with the most unaffordable housing are Vancouver, according to the survey, are Montreal, Toronto, Montreal, and Calgary. So look at Vancouver, so way out of the way here on the graph. Followed by Toronto. And Toronto, they're all in declining right now. And now that housing is in declining, assessments, people have been receiving their assessments, values of their places, and it's skyrocketing, so they could charge you more in property tax. Woo! So that's what's happening there. The survey rates middle income housing affordability using to measure the median multiple. It captures the median house price divided by the median household income in any given market. A median multiple of 5.1 means that a home costs more than 5 times than the average annual household income. It's considered severely unaffordable. Okay, watch this. Vancouver's median is 12.6%, the second worst. Hong Kong median is 20.9%. 91 cities ranked. Vancouver's median in the same last year after Sydney's affordability slightly improved. So Sydney's crashing right now. So here's the different metropolitan areas and the pricing. So here we go. We got to go to the bottom of the list to find R. So right now, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is only 2.6 times the average income. Memphis, Atlanta. I keep telling people to go to Atlanta, Macon, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. Alabama, look at San Antonio, 3.9% the annual income. It starts getting dangerous when you start getting into this red line here. So then you got, watch this. So number 1 is Hong Kong, right? Number 2 is Vancouver. Sydney, number 3. Melbourne, number 4. San Jose, number 5. Number 6, Los Angeles. Auckland, number 7. Number 8, San Francisco. Number 9, Honolulu. So if you look at all of the cities in the U.S., San Diego, watch this. They're all Seattle, Riverside, Bernardino, California, Sacramento, California, Seattle, Washington, New York, of course, Denver, Boston, Portland, and so a lot of them are located on the West Coast, guys. So the West Coast is what is the gateway to the Orient, I guess. And that's where a lot of people come and invest and share and live. And I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to keep going on this. This is going to be a little bit longer video. So the Vancouver exodus is very real. What the heck is this? What does this have to do with people leaving Vancouver? I have no idea. Anyways, so there's the 15th Annual Demographia International Housing Affordability Survey for 2019. Now, here is high Vancouver home prices fueling an exodus of young professionals. One official calls a crisis. This is severe. Let's see if this guy's talking about it. This is luxury real estate report. Nobody cares. Vancouver. Ivan Reeve and his wife moved from the rental home to rental home in Vancouver, but their solution for secure housing was to move to Ottawa and buy 2 houses. I did cover this on Trends in the Housing Market on Wednesday. One for them and one for his parents. He and his wife, Cassandra, are professionals in their mid-30s who wanted to start a family, but they couldn't afford to buy in the city. We wanted to own a home and have stability and peace of mind and flexibility, Reeve said. The rental market didn't have stability. We both had settled into pretty good first jobs, but as much as we loved the city and had those connections, it wasn't worth it. They were kicked out of a few places in 3 years, though no fault of their own, he said, adding that it was because people were selling or flipping properties. So this is not good, but it is happening, and it is a crisis. It definitely is a crisis because the affordability right now, and right now, look, $1 million homes are down 26.5%. Nobody's buying in the city of Vancouver or the greater Vancouver area. That includes Burnaby, Port Coquitlam. Like, all those areas are severely overpriced. No one's buying in those areas, and housing is losing its value. But what does that make? What do we make of this? Why is this happening? Well, we sold out. So here it is, back to this article. And Canada wants more Chinese workers, students, and tourists, says immigration minister. Now, I got follow-up videos for this. Not follow-up videos, follow-up articles. So a lot of people say I'm blaming the Chinese. I'm like, no, but the Chinese are the ones, like, this is a huge tilt. When we want 500,000 here, visas have been increasing from China to about 500,000 per year, but opening more visa offices could help Canada compete for more Chinese workers, students, and lucrative tourists. It's the biggest market in the world. They spend a lot of money, he says, on average $750 US per day on a trip to Canada. So they want to give international students advantages, an express entry system to obtain permanent residency by giving them more points to the system for their student status. So this is what's happening, and a lot of people aren't focusing on this. 500,000 Chinese per year in a country that has 35 million people. I don't think the infrastructure could support it. So what's happening is the affordability levels, especially if they're investors and they're lucrative investors, the middle class won't compete with it. Get ready for more Chinese Canada. Again, another article. And developments. I wrote previously that the Chinese market in Vancouver has been 20-plus year phenomena, continued unabated. Our country will surely become more Asian than it is now. And like I said, I used to live right by these towers here. I used to live right by this in Vancouver. I don't have a problem with the Chinese culture, the Chinese people, the Chinese. It's just we don't want to lose Canada, right? And once we lose Canada and become, people are leaving China for a reason, right? And if we become more like China, then we're going to start losing our rights. We're going to start losing the identity of what it means to be a Canadian. You know what I'm saying? And it is very scary, right? Yeah, with the Mandarin language announcement, Statistics Canada has confirmed it's a whole new world. So I guess they're allowing signs. And now if you go to Richmond, British Columbia too, and parts of Vancouver, their signs are only in Chinese. There's nothing in English. And that is becoming a problem when Canada loses identity. I think this will look great for Chinese people because they're kind of at home in Canada type of thing. They don't have to learn another language. They don't have to do a lot of things, right? But I think it's detrimental for the future of Canada and a bigger problem. You know what I'm saying? It turns out to be a bigger problem. Here's another article. Canada needs more Chinese immigrants, says federal minister. Oh, there's a video here too. This is an ad. Quebec's immigrant investor program is being blamed for sky-high real estate being seen in Vancouver and Toronto, as Aaron MacArthur reports that the immigration minister arrived in Vancouver Wednesday and found himself fielding some tough questions. Canada's immigration minister says that the country needs more newcomers, but as housing prices skyrocketed in Vancouver and Toronto, the government hopes to attract them to other cities. So now they're trying to spread out immigration evenly through the country so they don't stay in Vancouver and Toronto, our two biggest cities. So I think we've lost that war already with that. I think that's over I think it's too far gone. And here, let's see what this says.
Montreal, but live in Vancouver. Some call it the trampoline effect. Overseas investors can skip the line and obtain permanent residency in Quebec with a check for $800,000. The federal government says it can't really do anything to stop people from moving to British Columbia.
No, that is against the Constitution of Canada. If they are permanent residents, we cannot require them to stay anywhere. They have the right to live wherever in Canada they wish to live.
According to immigration lawyers, that's not quite true. Quebec may have sovereignty over its own immigration, but a change in federal tax laws would be a simple way to close the loophole. Richard Kirtland says there's no political will to make that change.
Quebec's investor program is great. It works, but the trampoline effect brings Quebec-destined investors into Vancouver. Federal government is responsible for enforcement. They have to put a stop to it. They haven't. Maybe BC didn't ask for enforcement.
Foreign investors in Vancouver's real estate market is a big enough issue that Christy Clark brought it up to the Premier of Quebec last month.
We're going to work together on it, and we're going to try and support him in finding ways to make sure their program, their investor program, is for Quebec and for Quebec alone, and that when people come into Quebec, that's where they stay.
The federal immigration minister says there are no plans to put pressure on the Quebec government, nor to create a federal investor program. The back door is wide open for foreign investment in British Columbia.
So that's that, and that ties into this article from 2 years ago. So everything's coming to light. Here it is. See? Articles from 2 years ago. And now everything's starting to come to light. And now we're paying for it. We were warned through the media. The media was sending out little tidbits of information, but none of us were grabbing it. Vancouver is awesome. Moving out of Vancouver, families leave the city for better housing options. It's taken more than 2 decades for Brian Stewart and Andrea Robbie to give up on Vancouver, but like countless individuals and middle-income families before them, some of them have written long-gone public goodbye letters. They're ditching the city. Instead of a letter or blog spot, Stewart announced the couple's decision on social media. Yep, so they're packing and they're going. After a second renoviction in the last 8 months, after 20 years of fighting for Vancouver neighborhoods for families, it looks like our family will be moving to White Rock. I wish all my Vancouver friends the best of luck continuing to fight the good fight for families, he tweeted on July 12. So it is happening. It is happening. So they're moving south to White Rock and leaving the big city. Vancouver middle-aged exodus raises concerns about the city's economic future. So again, if they don't have these small companies and these small little family-owned businesses, the public sector is going to have to. Public sector is going to struggle because they can't afford to pay the police, the doctors, the everything. Everything's just going to struggle. And what are they going to do? They just raised the property tax on everybody. Woo! And now raising the property tax, a lot of small businesses are shutting down. Lower Mainland residents in their peak earnings years are deciding to pack it up instead. Barry Bunkno and Karen, both in their mid-50s, sold off their Whistler home last year after the market saw major price hikes. They had already sold their property management business, and then they sold their house for a price that enabled them to completely cash out. That's it. That's it. Look at that. It's very sad to see the transformation of Canada before our eyes, but it is happening. Canada makes a push to increase the number of Chinese tourists and students. Again, more. They want more. But what happens to the people that live here? Like, how do the Aboriginals and whites leaving Metro Vancouver? There's another article here. Aboriginal and whites leaving Metro Vancouver in record numbers, leaving for the interior into smaller cities across Canada. So the mass exodus isn't just in Sydney and California. California's lost 6 million people in the last 6 years. So the mass exodus is the whole western seaboard here is suffering from unaffordability levels. And it's not people, they don't work. I'm talking for the working poor, the middle class. That's who I'm speaking up for. They can't even get anywhere in life. I mean, anywhere in life when it comes to stability and putting down roots. I said to myself, in Vancouver, it was an absolute gong show. I want my own house. I want my own life. I don't want this back and forth rent eviction lifestyle. You know what I'm saying? The first place I was in at the stadium in Vancouver place there, right where the Canucks played. The tower I was in, they wanted me out because they wanted to, and I was a tenant there for like 10, 11 years, and they wanted me out, and I paid my rent every month on time and stuff like that, and I took care of business and stuff. It was never a single problem. But then they basically didn't they wanted to renovate and then charge double the rent. So last I heard from the leasing company, told me that they ended up renting it out to somebody else, and they ended up destroying the apartment with, apparently they were using smoking crack in there, apparently, after I left. And it's a very upscale building I was in, too, so I feel for... But the problem is, on my floor, there was only 1 or 2 people living on my floor. Everything was owned by foreign investors. There was probably 30 people living in the whole building with 300 units, because it was just investors owning the properties. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Is there a mass exodus happening in your city? Where are people headed to? Are they headed east, west, north, south? Let me know. Comment below.